knows to push the button. Okay, just say aye. All right. Sparky, you ready? All right, we'll go ahead and start the committee meeting. First bill on the agenda is Senate Bill 3105. I recognize Senator Sparks to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senate Bill 3105 addresses a heated tobacco product and a definition in the code for heated tobacco product. You'll see that on line 28, particularly that it mentions heated tobacco product. That product is defined on line 146, means a product containing tobacco and producing an inhalable aerosol by use of an electronic device that either heats the tobacco without burning it or primarily heats it rather than burns tobacco. It does not include a cigarette in the term heated tobacco. Once that definition is established in section 1, you see in section 2, the excise tax for the heated tobacco product is inserted on line 174. The rate of tax shall be 1,700 cent, 0.17 per heat stick, defined as a single-use unit sold for consumption, or 3.4 cents per pack of 20. So in this legislation, section 1, we define what heated tobacco is. It is non-combustible. It does not burn. It does not cause entrance into the body of many of the harmful products that when you burn something, whether you burn a cigarette or whether you burn any other substance that is created, it also eliminates the issue of secondhand smoke. It is a risk reduction product that has been through the FDA. The FDA recognizes a heated tobacco product in their definitions, and therefore the taxing category that we are putting in it is reflective of that risk reduction, which in many studies has been from 92 to 98% of a reduction in the harmful products, the harmful chemicals and things that enter your system through traditional cigarette smoking versus this heated tobacco product. These devices would be an electronic device that you would actually insert a heat stick into, which would contain the tobacco product. It has kind of an electrode in it. In other words, it's not something that you could take a heat stick and light it up on your own and try to smoke it. It would not function in that fashion and wouldn't be very pleasant. But that is the basic explanation of the bill. I would be glad to yield to any questions, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions for Senator Sparks on the bill? Senator Blunt for a question.
I don't have a question, Mr. Chairman, but I would like to speak for final passage.
Okay. Are there any other questions for Senator Sparks on the bill? All right, seeing none. Senator Blunt, you're recognized to speak on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As I understand it, this is a new product. This is a tobacco nicotine product. And so we're creating a new tax category for that product. And I think that's probably a good idea. My concern continues to be with vaping products in the state, which for which there is no additional tax beyond sales tax. You pay the same tax as if you're buying a Coca-Cola or a bag of chips. And I think that this gives us an opportunity, this bill, to look at vaping products so that we have some sort of tax structure in place for cigarettes, for this new heated tobacco product, and for vaping products that is beyond just the standard sales tax. And I hope we can consider that as this bill makes its way through the process. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Blunt. Any other questions for a motion?
Title sufficient, do pass.
Motion is title sufficient, do pass. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Next bill is Senate Bill 3070. Recognize Senator Johnson to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill is about new market tax credits. Similar to MSBIC, if you remember that last year, new market tax credits allow for a lending company that's it's pre-specified. They get an allocation of funds that they can, or an allocation that they can raise capital and pre-sell part of that capital to raise part of that capital in tax credits. The tax credit in Mississippi is currently 24%, and that's phased in at 8% per year on the pre-sale of the tax credit. And this bill would reinstate that, but it would fall in line with what some other states have done where they have raised to say 55 or 60% tax credits. This would go to 48%. And it would also allow for up to $300 million in capital to be put out in the markets, $100 million per year over 3 years in Mississippi. Like with MSBIC, it helps capital. It helps people raise capital for businesses that are starting in Mississippi or growing in Mississippi without a tax credit on the front end. It's all on the back end. And this bill would, or the new market tax credits, different from MSBIC, is for low income census tracts. And so it's specified for those areas. That's an explanation of the bill.
Explanation of the bill. Any question or one for question?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On line 1267, what is this transfer of public property or facilities speaking to from section 1.7 in the bill?
Council tells me that that was on the previous page, 1241, line 1241, that was previous language, and that they were just mirroring that for the new application.
But in effect, what does it in effect do?
Exempting from bid requirements.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none for a motion.
Title sufficient do pass.
Motion is title sufficient to pass. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Next bill is Senate Bill 3099. I'm going to recognize Senator England to explain Senator Wiggins' bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator Wiggins' bill and my bill. So the senior senator from Jackson County also signed on to this. Senate Bill 3099 is a bill that revises a tax credit that we had on the books previously. It was about 8 years ago. As we all know, the demand for skilled workers in Mississippi has increased dramatically, which is a great thing. This bill provides a 50% income tax credit to employers that work directly with their community colleges to help pay for instruction and instruction materials to help train the workforce. This has to be employer sponsored. The training program has to be employer sponsored, and the employer must work with a community college that's located in their county where the employer is located. The community college also has to certify to the employer that they are eligible to take on this training program. Again, the credit is only for instruction related expenses, and the credit cannot exceed $2,500 per trainee per year. That is what the bill does. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions on the bill? We do have an amendment on the bill to put a cap on it. I think in 2016, this used to be a tax credit that was on the books, and it was about $700,000 was spent on it. So we're going to, I think Senator Johnson has an amendment that speaks to that. Senator Johnson, recognize you for an amendment.
We would put a $1 million for the first cap for the first year.
So that's an explanation of the amendment. Are there any questions? Senator McMahon.
I'm just curious why we would want to put a cap on something like this.
Don't know how much it's going to cost. I mean, and with trying to reinstitute the program, we want to see what the what the engagement is, how much interest is in it. We can always raise it. We need to.
I just for conversation, do you think the chair might entertain or possibly doing like a $500,000 cap per congressional district? That'd be a $2 million cap and be sure it's spread evenly across the state on a $500,000 per congressional district.
Well, I don't know if I want to, I would think it's probably better to do a universal cap. We can talk about raising the cap on the floor before we take it up and just see, we'll get with our community colleges and see what the interest it was and see where we kind of go. We're just trying to make sure that we don't let it run wild and run up a big tab without knowing where it's going to go.
I like this. I like this legislation. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Kirby for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know it's because we're talking about tax credits, but effective we're going back to January.
We can't hear you, Senator Kirby. If you can speak to the mic.
Oh, sorry.
There you go.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know it's a tax bill. I mean, basically, we're talking about tax credits, but it says effective, we're going back to January the 1st, 24. Is that right?
Yes.
That's
Yes.
correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other questions on the amendment? All right, seeing none. Or you have a,
I just would say I consider this to be a friendly amendment
thank you.
to my bill. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. All right, seeing no further questions, all those in favor of the amendment say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Any further questions on the bill? Senator Sparks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This particular bill, when you have a tax credit, that is for that entity's income tax liability, not their ad valorem tax credit. Is that correct?
Correct.
That's correct.
All right. And then the training that we're expecting with the community college, why it could happen outside of wet funds. If these are wet funds training and this body changed the language in 2000, I believe it was, to allow the employer to contribute to the cost of training, are we in a position where the state's already paying 50% of this, or not the state, I guess, really the UI fund through wet funds is paying for 50% of the training, and the employer is going to pay up to 50% of the training and receive a credit for that? And I can certainly have that question answered
Yeah,
later.
I think it's on
just-
the actual, on the amount that they pay for. I think it's their cost is up to $2,500, but we'll have to get with community colleges and find out.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any further questions? Senator England for a motion?
Yes, my motion is title sufficient do pass as amended. Committee sub.
All right, you heard the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Next bill is Senate Bill 2143, Senator Blunt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill is requested by the Hinds County Board of Supervisors. It makes one change in subsection D on line 40. You'll see just above that in subsection B and C, and again in D, that 3 counties are specified in the law based on where certain highways intersect to assess additional millage for the purpose of garbage collection. The current law, which identifies Hinds County in subsection D, says a population of more than 250,000. Hinds County no longer has 250,000. So all the bill does is change the number 250,000 to 200,000. And then there was some confusion about the law says where I-20 and I-55 intersect, and sometimes I don't know if I'm in Rankin or Hinds when I'm going over the stack. So we changed I-55 to Highway 18 to just clarify that it's Hinds County. It does not make any change in millage or authorize them to raise any taxes beyond what they're currently authorized before their population declined.
Okay. You heard an explanation of the bill. Are there any questions? Seeing none, Senator Blunt for motion.
Title sufficient do pass, Mr. Chairman.
Motion is title sufficient to pass. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Last bill, Senate Bill 2990, Senator Carter.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The primary purpose of Senate Bill 2990 is to clear up currently confusing situation regarding taxation of services and purchases in the oil field. Income from drilling, workover, and completion services taxed at a contractor's rate of 3.5%, while gross income from all other oil field services and purchases is taxed at 7% sales tax rate. It's created confusion with the Department of Revenue staff and resulted in inconsistency in application over the last 10 years. To clear the confusion, the industry is recommending all oil field services and purchases be taxed at a single rate of 4%. Drilling activity has been minimal for nearly 10 years now. The Department of Revenue staff was consulted on this legislation and is in agreement that this bill could help the current situation. And I have an amendment at the proper time.
Okay. Go ahead and state your amendment.
Amendment is add a reverse repealer.
Okay. You heard the amendment. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. Any questions, Senator Carter, on the bill? Seeing none for a motion.
Title subdivision do pass as amended. Committee sub.
You heard the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. That bill will be reported out. Motion to rise and report. All in favor, say aye. All opposed?